life can change dramatically from the most unexpected things. A change of job, or a simple act of kindness. Let me tell you a story about my really small chance to change my life and make it a happy one. My name is Tom. I work at one of those typical exhausting companies. Every day, I leave for work at the crack of dawn and return home by the last train. Working on weekends is the norm. I hate this work environment and want to quit, but I don't even have the time to look for another job. When was the last time I took a day off, I wonder? Thinking about this, I get on the train on my day off. Yet again, I'm working on my day off. Being Saturday, the train is fairly crowded, but since I board from a rural station, I can usually find a seat when I'm working on weekends. That's probably the only good thing about working on a weekend. I gaze at the passing crowd and the packed train, lost in thought. Then, a particular individual catches my eye. A woman with a girl, maybe around elementary school age. I noticed her attire. She was wearing a miniskirt. It's not that. I was looking at her thighs, but not in a creepy way. She had a bandage wrapped around her leg. I wonder if she got hurt. A miniskirt with a bandage wrapped up to her thigh. It was an attention-grabbing outfit. She's injured, and she's with a kid. I thought it'd be right to offer her my seat. However, the seat I'm in is a single-seater. Unfortunately, the child would have to sit on her lap. Considering her injury, that might be a bit uncomfortable, but no one else seemed to be offering their seat, so I guess it can't be helped. I have a niece, so I know how challenging it is to travel on a train with a young kid. They might want to sit or get glued to the window, or even try to run around. Man, kids are so full of energy. That's why, being in an injured state and also standing with a small child on a train must require a lot more physical and mental stamina than one can imagine. I was planning to get off in a few stops, so I thought, why not, and was about to approach her when I noticed something. Her miniskirt was caught in her bag. It's okay for now, but if she isn't careful, it could ride up significantly. The skirt is already quite short. But as a man, I felt awkward pointing it out. While I was contemplating what to do, it seemed like the young girl with her noticed the snagged skirt and was about to say something. Oh no. I had a bad feeling and kept my eyes on them. Hey, lady, your pant. Ahem. I thought they were mother and daughter, but she addressed her as lady, so maybe not. Kids speak their minds bluntly. If the skirt flipped, it would reveal more than intended, causing embarrassment. I interrupted the girl with a loud cough. The woman looked at me, puzzled. Thinking this was the right moment, I stood up and offered my seat to the woman. You're injured and you have a child with you, so please take a seat. Oh, thank you so much. Also, your skirt is. Using deliberately vague words, I informed her about the snag, and she hastily fixed her skirt. She looked embarrassed, so I pretended not to notice and decided to move away from her vicinity. It can be a little awkward being close to someone you've just exchanged seats with, after all. With that thought, I moved away from my seat and got off a few stops later. Doing that little good deed had somewhat lifted the gloomy mood from having to work on my day off. A month later, I was heading for an interview at a company. I had always thought about quitting that exhausting company, but never imagined they'd let me go due to poor performance. It's what you'd call downsizing. This was unexpected, and I suddenly lost my job. I couldn't be picky anymore. Technically, my previous company was a major one, and my base salary was decent. They didn't pay for overtime though. The companies interviewing today will honestly pay less. However, it's a mid-sized company with a proper system for overtime pay and benefits. Even if the salary is a bit lower, I decided to have a more humane life. If I destroy my health, it won't benefit anyone. With that determination, I went for the interview. It being a small company, both the HR representative and the CEO were present, and then you were, from that time, right? What? To my surprise, the CEO was the miniskirt-wearing lady from the train. She still had a bandage, but it covered a much smaller area now. Today, she wasn't in a miniskirt, but rather in a form-fitting attire that truly highlighted her feminine grace. She looked stunning. Back on the train, with the miniskirt, bandages, and a child in tow, I hadn't quite taken it all in, but looking closely now, she's genuinely captivating. She has a perfect figure that any woman would envy. Her thighs are beautifully shaped, and her overall style is simply outstanding. It's the first time I've seen a woman wear a suit so perfectly. Naturally, I was mesmerized, but then I snapped back to reality. I need to focus. I'm here for an interview, after all. I must stay sharp. I apologize. No, the pleasure is mine. I never expected you to come for the interview. As she spoke, the CEO, Catherine, received my resume from HR and reviewed it. I have a good background and my college is not a bad place. I did work for a major, albeit demanding company, and achieved a lot there. If I didn't say anything strange during the interview, I believed I'd be fine. However, all right, let's hire him. What? To her surprising words, I let out a gasp, and the HR guy simply responded with, "Understood," handing me the contract with a practiced ease. Wait, what just happened? Excuse me. Seeing my confusion, she added, "Your background is impeccable, and, especially in this day and age, it's rare to find someone who'd quietly offer their seat." The CEO chuckled. And just like that, I landed a job in one go. I was astounded that such a small act of kindness got me a job. From what I heard later on, given the shortage of manpower, having someone from a major company who could hit the ground running was almost a guaranteed hire. My gesture on the train might have further boosted their impression of me. Well, if they're hiring me, I better work hard. That was what I thought, but I never imagined my role would be assisting the CEO. We're a small team. I often work on the front lines too, but there are tasks that only the CEO can handle. You joining us is perfect. The CEO explained that besides her main responsibilities, she also manages client information, reception, document creation, and many other tasks a CEO wouldn't typically handle. She's practically doing everything. The staff should thrive in their areas of expertise. A CEO shouldn't just lounge around. They should push their employees forward. She said this with such passion and was truly admirable. But she often looked tired. Considering the workload, that makes sense. She always keeps an eye on the clock and ensures she finishes over half her work by the end of the day, leaving the rest to me. Initially, it wasn't like this, but as I got a grip on my responsibilities, which, to be honest, were much lighter compared to my previous job, I could finish them pretty fast. Having quick turnarounds was appreciated, and now she leaves at the regular time while I stay late and pick up the other tasks. No one in the company bats an eye when the CEO leaves on time. While she is much loved, she also has a secret. It has something to do with that little girl from the train. Tom, since you saw me on the train, it might be easier to explain. I'm currently taking care of my niece. I'd been working there for almost 3 months, I think. The CEO, seeing how hard I always worked, invited me to lunch as a token of appreciation. That's when I took the chance to ask why she always leaves right on the dot. It wasn't that I was annoyed she left promptly, but she always seemed so rushed, so I wondered if she had pressing commitments every single day. She then shared her reason with me. You see, the mother of that child, my younger sister, I had an accident while I was driving with her. Apparently, while they were out shopping, a car ran a red light. In trying to avoid the car, the CEO swerved hard and ended up crashing into a utility pole. She got away with just a leg injury, but her sister, who was in the passenger seat, broke both her arm and leg. The bones were completely broken, and though she didn't require surgery, the fractures were quite significant. She was told she'd need 3 months for a full recovery and was advised by doctors to rest at home. My niece is in 2nd grade right now. She wants to play and have fun, but with her mom seriously injured and our family outing plans ruined because of the accident I caused, I feel terribly guilty. With her sister unable to care for her child and their elderly parents, the CEO has taken on the responsibility of rushing home to help out every day. Her brother-in-law is currently on a work assignment overseas. Considering her sister's condition and the demands of a young child, it's a challenging situation. The CEO's support is crucial. As for wearing a miniskirt on the train, it was because she had bandages on her legs, which were easier to adjust with a skirt. Also, there was an incident where her niece almost pulled off her longer skirt. But in the end, the skirt got caught, and I nearly embarrassed myself. She laughed, making me chuckle in return. After hearing about the CEO's troubles, I did my best to support her so she could leave work earlier. But I can't help but wonder why. Lately, she's looked extremely pale. We've reduced her workload, and everyone is supportive, ensuring she can leave right away if something comes up with her niece. But her complexion just keeps getting worse. This situation can't continue. Are you okay? You look really pale. I'm fine. With all due respect, you say that, but you look like you're about to pass out. Please, head home for today. Let me do my job. Otherwise I'm going to get depressed. I tilted my head, puzzled. Isn't her health deteriorating because of work? I quickly made her sit down and brought her a coffee, hoping it would help her calm down. I'm sorry, thank you. No worries. But what do you mean? You'll get depressed if you're not working. Well, schools are shutting down a lot lately. Turns out, there's a current seasonal outbreak, and many schools are being closed as a result. Luckily, her niece seems fine, but she's restless and wants to go out. Being stuck at home probably has the kids stressed out. Come to think of it, I had received a call that my niece was also affected by the school closure. It seems to be quite common these days. She's not the outdoorsy type, so I've been taking her to museums and science centers, but at such places, you have to constantly watch them to make sure they don't get lost, right? Lately, I've been on edge. I see. Yes, children can easily wander off if you take your eyes off them for even a moment. Juggling work and taking care of niece, she definitely seems like she hasn't been getting a break. Fortunately, the school closures will be ending soon, but her niece is still eager to visit the science center and is quite a handful. After all the worry because of her mom's accident, and now with school being closed, she's growing restless. I want to take her somewhere fun, but it's hard handling everything alone. How about enrolling her in a science club? What? I made the suggestion to the surprised CEO. Actually, my niece is quite passionate about science, inventions, and such. But if I take her to the science museum every time, she gets bored, so I take her to a weekly science experiment show at a nearby community center. Sometimes they can perform actual experiments, and at other times, they use large experimental tools to have fun. This science club is the name of the organization that hosts these science shows. Even though it's called a club, anyone can participate if they pay a fee, and registering your name gives you a discount. I didn't know about that. You're always busy. Probably didn't have the time to look up these events, right? If you'd like, I can send you the details later. Please consider attending. The shows are entertaining even for adults, and you just need to sit next to them. I hoped it would help ease the CEO's burden. which is why I told her about this. Taking her with me might be too much, and I already bring niece every week. Introducing niece to a new kid might startle her. Well, if the CEO decides to come, we might bump into each other. That was my assumption, until I learned an astonishing truth. Then came Saturday. Oh, there's Manna. Hey, Elizabeth. To my surprise, the CEO's niece, Manna, whom I bumped into at the venue, was my niece Elizabeth's friend. Both the CEO and I were taken aback by this. Wait, they knew each other. Now that I think about it, the periods when Elizabeth and Manna's classes were closed overlapped. So, they were in the same class. Though the CEO and I were surprised, the two nieces sat together, which naturally had us sitting nearby. Today's science experiment show involved freezing roses with dry ice, and the kids enjoyed it, their eyes sparkling. Manna was thrilled, and Elizabeth seemed happy to have a friend there. They promised to come back next week to watch the show. That means we'll meet here again next week. The CEO and I ended up seeing each other almost every day, both at work and outside. I'm sorry for suggesting this. It's fine. In fact, I'm grateful. However, our weekly meetups continued even after the sister recovered. Apparently, the CEO decided to keep accompanying Manna to the science experiment shows. I started this, and besides, you come here too. Wait, what? You know how I'm tough and intimidating at work. In my personal life, I'm quite a mess. But Tom, you've always treated me the same way despite that, she said, blushing. Seeing her in such an adorable state made me shy away. I couldn't help but smile, but I wasn't going to just sit there and not act on these feelings. Even though we met because of our nieces, we hadn't met privately without them. It took a lot of courage to ask her out for dinner. Despite seeing each other every week at the science experiment show, it was pretty embarrassing. Honestly, I thought she might be disappointed in me, but when she said, "It's comforting to know you're not perfect," I felt relieved and realized I could just be myself around her. I felt that way. She must have felt the same. "Would you date me?" To my confession, the CEO replied, "I'd love to." Then she gave me the biggest smile. That's how we started dating. We saw each other almost every day, both at work and in our personal lives, so things moved quickly. Since we met daily, we soon talked about moving in together, and we did. Catherine was great at cleaning and tidying up, but her cooking was a total disaster. She was concerned about it. I remember her tearfully presenting a completely burnt omelet. She seemed so different from the confident woman at work. It was endearing. The contrast was stark. She always wore sharp outfits, but her pajamas were fluffy and cute, and sometimes she'd wake up with her hair all tousled. Living together, I discovered even more facets of Catherine's charm. I kept learning new things about her, and each revelation drew me in more. Every day was a blissful one for me. At work, I supported her, and at home, I took care of the household needs. As we continued to support each other, we became indispensable to one another. So, with all my love, I proposed to Catherine. "Let me be the one to support you for the rest of our lives." And do you know what she said? "I've been leaning on you for a while now. Just don't ever look at anyone else, okay?" she said with tears in her eyes, and we became a family. After coming home exhausted from my demanding job, I now wake up under the same roof with my wife, greeting her with a good morning every day. We commute together, return home together, have dinner together, sleep together, and wake up together. I've found this irreplaceable life. It's precious, and I'm truly happy. But the spark that started it all was offering my seat on a train, and noticing her skirt getting caught and potentially exposing her. In hindsight, it seems like such a trivial reason. Had I not offered my seat that day, maybe I wouldn't have this happiness now. Looking back, everything, the overtime, offering seats, her skirt getting caught, all seems meant to be. Catherine would probably scold me for saying that. Regardless of the reasons, I now have a family to protect. From now on, I'll continue living in a way that makes them proud, ensuring our happiness together.